There's been a lot of things happening in the Winnipeg real estate market. As of today, there's 750 condos for sale and 903 houses for sale. Right off the bat, I've observed that there's a lower amount of inventory over previous years. So that's a trend that's working well for the Winnipeg market. Now in 2016, it was a record year for sales volume and number of transactions. I do have a concern with the disconnect still between the seller's ask and the sold price. In 2016, 73% of all houses sold for under the seller's ask. And that number's been trending upwards for the last 5 years. What I'm seeing at the ground level is sellers and buyers are disconnected. And what's happening is buyers are not wanting to write offers altogether. And what ends up happening is they continue shopping, and then they cool off, and then they come back. And what is happening is sellers are getting frustrated. Yes, we are in still a slightly oversupplied market, which means that it's a buyer's favored market. So what needs to happen is sellers need to be more realistic with their pricing. And what I'm hearing from sellers is, David, why aren't buyers writing offers on my property? I have room to negotiate. That's one side. The buyers are saying to me, David, I don't want to write an offer for what I think the property is worth because I don't want to insult the seller, and I don't think they want to negotiate. It's like you have two people who really like each other but don't want to tell each other that. It's very bizarre and it's awkward, and it doesn't have to be awkward. What I think is happening is there's too much emotion going into that step of simply doing something. Writing an offer is a very natural thing to do when you want to buy a property in order for you to get a deal and transact. So having a fear of rejection is something that won't work well for a lot of buyers. And sellers also have to be less romantic about their properties. And remember that they're looking at selling their property, not simply being attached to it and being emotional about the whole process. That's easier said than done. Now, what I'm observing though is in the last week when I dealt with the purchase of a big property and a smaller condo, both deals fell through because of that disconnect. There's nothing I could have done any differently because I can only represent one side at a time. And in this case, I was representing the buyers. So I'm telling you, from my experience, sellers are highly romantic about their properties in the two cases that I've dealt with. And I'm seeing a generalized trend of that happening. So what needs to happen? Well, I strongly recommend to sellers to price their property, meaning put an ask price that's very close to what we're seeing houses like theirs selling for as of very recently. It's not a matter of looking at what a house has sold for in the last year and compare that. You want to be as close to now as possible, ideally in the last few weeks, maximum the last few months. A lot can happen in the market and it changes quickly. That's your real estate fix for today. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.